Hey y'all, it's me, SupyoGray, and we're here with Stanley Parable. Yes, I did put my favorite time because the last time he asked me to put my favorite time. No, I did not. I did. I resisted. I mean, yes, I know, but trust me, I actually listened this time. It's not accurate. Okay, accurate is it's almost like exactly almost accurate. Like, not, you know what? Um, okay, bet, bet. Well, yeah, you know, you are welcome. If I can help with data, I'm glad. I mean, are you sure? Yes. Next time. Okay. Bet. I got you, dog. Stanley Parable 2, it really did change it.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
If you want
Stanley worked
to,
for a company in a
if
big
not,
building
skip.
where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Bet.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Oh
What could it
my.
mean?
What could it
Stanley
mean?
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he
Okay.
had simply missed a memo.
Oh, guys.
Stanley
They gave
lifted
me
the
another
bucket into his
bucket.
arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
Dog, this is actually quite amazing. I was not expecting to
Stanley
see the
clutched the
bucket
bucket
again.
tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Okay, I need to find out which one I want to do.
Still no one was here.
Yeah,
Stanley
yeah.
needed the bucket's
Who
warmth and comfort now
cares?
more than ever.
I
Perhaps his
mean,
boss's
yes.
office was where he'd find answers.
Okay.
Coming to a
I
staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
want to go. Okay, well, actually, I want to go up. I'm sorry. Left or right, they said. Not up or down. Giving me too many options.
You found one of them. One of the
Bet.
miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the
I know.
intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You
Well,
can't buy
thank
that
you.
sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Well, thank you. I'll try. Um, okay.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Oh my gosh,
Crushed
there's
by the
no
weight of
one.
this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's
Darkest.
warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would
Haha.
be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The
Yeah,
two
I'm
of
pretty
them
chill
were
right now.
inseparable. At this point,
Oh.
Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk.
Oh my gosh.
Nor in
there's
his
a
bliss of
keypad.
simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the pin number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck.
Oh my
Was it that
gosh.
the bucket knew all along? Was
Yes.
the bucket guiding him?
He is
Yes,
the master.
this
the
is certainly
Messiah.
the most logical explanation.
What the? Oh, just bags. Nothing more to worry about there. Oh, look at that.
Another
Got
miniature
another.
Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini stands?
Mini
Stanley
stands.
figs. What about Stanlerines? Yes,
Yeah.
I think I like that.
I like
Another
mini stands more.
Stanlerine under your belt.
Well, off we go.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would
We
be
got
all
this.
Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Thank you. See, that normally scared me. But
Stanley and the
my
bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Okay. Fucking alright, chilling.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens.
Oh my.
What horrible secret did this place hold?
Horrible,
Stanley and the bucket
horrible.
both wondered to themselves.
Yes, to ourselves. Yo, I don't want to die. I'm not that way. Oh,
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
what's that one?
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control.
Never.
Never! He squeezed the
Never.
bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire
Yes,
world.
my only one.
At this point,
And only.
he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Not even the narrator.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with
control.
emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking,
Mind control
eating, working,
offline.
all of it
That's
monitored
good.
and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good.
You know what, bucket?
Two best
Let's do
friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way,
Ooh.
and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Oh, let's take down the system. As if it had a on and a off. At which it was easy. I don't even know. I'm sorry.
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth.
Yes.
Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support.
Yo.
What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped?
Bro.
Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed?
What's
An
going on?
unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave.
What?
Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket.
Oh my gosh.
Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms.
Guys,
not while this building has anything to
bucket.
say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Yep. Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Crazy. Okay, guys, let's see.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Oh my
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Meeting room. Oh, hi, bucket.
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
Okay.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Let's go. Let's keep going. Let's see what happens, guys. How can we find them all? What the heck? That's interesting.
To discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along?
He did.
Was the bucket guiding him?
Yes.
Yes. This is certainly the most logical explanation.
Go. We got this. I want to take over, guys.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Let's do this.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Yes, we wonder, you say. But we're gonna take over. We're gonna be the masters, the rulers,
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Yeah, I got you, bucket.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Facts. No burner.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machine... But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley
Oh,
gasped in horror. Had this
bucket?
been the bucket's plan all along? To
Wow,
take over the machine and claim the power for
you're
itself?
crazy.
How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when
Oh,
suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen.
oh,
Birds. Silly,
yeah,
silly birds.
I
The
like
control
this.
buttons became active again.
Silly birds, silly birds.
Stanley flipped through one
Silly
video of
birds.
silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world.
Silly
The
birds,
mind
silly
controls
birds.
were only a facade to disguise
Silly
its
birds,
true
silly
intentions.
birds, silly birds,
Had the
silly
bucket known
birds.
this all along?
Hey,
Stanley
hey,
marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible
yes.
discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the
Ah,
rest
look
of
at
their
that one.
lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable.
They're silly.
Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was
I
surely
like
the
that bird.
best. And Stanley was happy.
I am happy. Look at that one. Okay, guys, we're gonna end on a happy note. Well, I hope that you guys did enjoy. Please do leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. And as always, guys, stay safe out there. Peace out.